Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3. How long do these phones last? This one's already 4 years old. I think it's a question many people have. This one was released in August of 2021, and as we know, the Z Folds are very expensive. I actually had a crazy opportunity come my way. I was selling my Xbox One X, and someone offered to trade for the Z Fold 3. That was about 2 years ago, so I've been living with it for 2 years, and now it's a 4-year-old phone. But to give some context, I did not buy this new or at full price. I got an excellent deal on it, realistically probably less than $200. This is a cross between a review and a longevity test. Real world, I'm not a phone reviewer. I don't change phones every few months. I just use the same phone for years until I really want an upgrade or I can't use it anymore. We'll go over a refresher over the quick specs to see what we were working with 4 years ago. So this had the Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 8-core with 12 gigabytes of RAM. I think that's key. The 12 gigabytes of RAM is really helping the longevity with this one. It can keep apps open and keep background processes while you're doing multiple things. This has been updated to Android 15 with One UI 7. I do believe this is the last major update for this phone. So realistically, to get newer updates, I'm going to have to get a new phone within a year or two. But for now, it's still fairly modern. If we go over some benchmarks to compare it to some other phones that you might see online, it has a Geekbench 6 single-core score of 1490 and a multi-core score of 3920, a GPU Vulkan score of 5179. Now, what is it like using the phone? Let's start off with the cameras. The funny thing is, and I'm sure you guys know this phone is actually the video recorder to most of my videos. Now, not this video because I can't record the phone using its own camera, but most of my other videos that have footage in it are from this phone. If we think about it, I think it has 5 cameras, a 12 megapixel wide, normal, and telephoto 2x lens on the back, a 10 megapixel selfie camera on the front screen, and a 4 megapixel under display camera on the internal screen. I think the normal camera still produces great to good results in good lighting. I find it still totally usable, but acknowledging newer cameras have gotten a lot better on phones. I think the wide angle and telephoto leave some to be desired. The wide angle just isn't enough pixels, I feel like. Now there's multiple aspects to a camera, but I feel like it just produces pretty soft images, and when you zoom in, you lose all detail. The telephoto works, but 2x is not that much anymore. Realistically, you can get a very similar result to just a zoomed in normal camera, but it's nice to have. The selfie camera, acceptable. It tends to be a little blurry or lose focus or get confused. It also just gets dirty very easily, so you're constantly having to clean it. Now the under display camera is worth having, but man, it is not worth using. It's just for some quick, Snapchats or just something that doesn't matter. The quality is awful. There's a lot of processing. It's super soft. There's a lot of color fringing. It's just not worth it. Overall, the cameras are all right, but phones have gotten a lot better with their cameras over the years. So this is kind of a product of its time, and it wasn't the best even when it released. But it's totally acceptable. On to another hardware aspect. How are the speakers? I'll let you guys listen. Personally, I think they're plenty loud enough for most situations if you just want to turn on a YouTube video or if you're doing something. Voice clarity is excellent. Just obviously there's not a ton of bass. So it's not going to replace a Bluetooth speaker. But if you want to turn on a podcast on your desk, or if you just need speakerphone, it can get the job done. It actually surprised me. It's a little better than I expected, even for music quality. Now on to the main reason why you would get a folding phone, the displays. We'll start off with the outside display. It's a 6.2 inch 832 by 2268, very tall aspect ratio screen. This is probably the biggest weaknesses of the earlier fold phones. It's incredibly narrow and really tall. Most apps feel a little unnatural. They feel a little compressed. And typing is a little hard to do on this. I'm not a great texter anyway, but I fat thumb on this phone a lot. At least it's 120 Hz. Now the interior display is quite excellent. Again, these are both OLEDs. The internal display is 7.6 inches, 1768 by 2208, with a pixel density of 374. If we look at some videos I took of it outside, I think it was average when it came out, but nowadays compared to newer phones, it is quite dim. It is hard to use in broad daylight. You really want to be in shade with this one. But overall, the display is an excellent Samsung OLED, so there's nothing to complain about. Another cool part about the display on these older Z Folds is they gave it S Pen compatibility. So you can buy an S Pen, which is not as convenient or as the Ultra Pen or the tablet pens. Don't really have anywhere to put it unless you get a case, but then those cases end up being very bulky. But the fact that you can doodle on your 7-inch tablet, basically, is really quite cool. Not a ton of use cases for it. You would have to bring the pen around. I would rather have the feature than not have it. One of the biggest questions people have on older technology, and I sure do, is how is the battery holding up? It originally released with a 4400 milliamp hour battery, which isn't big even for the standard back then, but even newer folds aren't really much bigger. It has 25 watt wired charging and 11 watt wireless charging. And this is where we start to go into the age of the phone and it being worn down. I'm having issues charging through the USB-C port. It works, but even after I've cleaned it a couple times, it seems slightly finicky. This is by no means the first phone that has done this. It seems to happen to me for every phone I have once it gets to about 4 years old. But it does have some issues. I tend to wirelessly charge, which might be the reason why my battery life sucks. But the fast wireless charging isn't that fast anyway with 11 watts. The phone is still totally usable. It can get through most days without me having to recharge. But if I heavily use it on YouTube or I'm just using it for hours with screen on time, it's dead halfway through the day. I would find the battery as acceptable, but not great. For most people, it should be able to get them through a day, but you probably want to have a charger around. Speaking another thing of degradation, how is the center crease of the phone? It is definitely visible and becoming more and more visible. It hasn't accelerated. It's kind of looked moderately the same the whole time I've owned it. It's just progressively getting slightly more visible. It just looks like color fringing when you look at like a white screen or bright things on it. The unfortunate thing is it's right in the center of the screen, so no matter if you're in landscape or portrait mode, it's generally going right through the middle of your content. Now for apps, it's not that big of a deal because you're not staring at the center. Where I find it more noticeable is with videos. My wife has a Z Flip 6, and I don't notice the crease at all, but that phone is also brand new. It's about a year old now, but I still don't notice the crease on it. This is not the screen protector, this is the screen itself slowly having issues. But I would say after 4 years of use, it is still totally acceptable. I just hope the newer phones have a little bit more longevity, but I have no idea. Performance-wise, how is it day to day? I think it's totally fine. It's generally fast enough to open the apps like Discord message, calling, Googling things. But like a lot of other Android phones I've had, there's a couple crashes. You know, you get a weird app and sometimes it's the app's fault. Or just when it gets overwhelmed, it can chug a little bit. But it is more than fine for a 4-year-old phone. It's why I still have it and I still don't feel the need to upgrade because it's performing good enough and I'm a pretty heavy user anyway. Reliability wise, it's been really good. Not perfect, but I live rurally anyway, so sometimes the data cuts out or sometimes text or phone calls won't go through, but I don't know if that's the phone itself or more likely probably my carrier. But it does have some issues here and there. So overall, what's the conclusion here? As a power user that likes tablets anyways, I love this phone. I don't think I can go back now. Realistically, I'm just gonna have to get another fold phone for a good deal. I really like using it and I'm still using it today. Maybe in a year or so when the software gets old enough, then I'll upgrade. Now there's some scuffs, there's some issues with the hardware here and there, but the speakers still work, the screen's still fine. It still can make a phone call and it can still open up documents and do the work I need to do. I think these phones, while awesome, are very overpriced, but getting them used and getting a good deal on them seems like a fun way for me to go. I just want to quell most people's worries about these phones. They don't break super easily. Just take care of it, have a case, have a screen protector. You don't need to baby it, treat it like another phone. Just make sure you clean it and keep it protected and it'll last years. Mine is 4 years old and I'm still using it daily. The things that are wrong with it, it has nothing to do with it being a fold. It's just normal wear and tear that happens to all the phones I've had. Besides the crease in the center of the screen. But, you know, folding screens are still a relatively new technology. And I'm sure the new ones have a little bit better longevity. If any of you want a folding phone, I can easily recommend them. I think they're awesome. And the newer ones are just better and better.